Steve and Jill here.
Hi.
Welcome to the House Academy Show, entertaining real estate investment talk. I'm Steve and Jack Butel.
And I'm Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk about what do the boots on the ground actually do for sellers?
I would like to say, what don't the boots on the ground actually do for sellers? Isn't it kind of amazing what you guys have had to do for some of these sellers?
Absolutely, yes.
If you're looking for a real good, solid definition of how we use or this concept of boots on the ground, listen to the show from yesterday. We really define it in pretty good detail about why real estate investors need or should utilize some version of boots on the ground to represent you as the investor purchasing the house. And this show is all about what the boots on the ground do for the seller to get us to the point where we've purchased the house. And there's a lot of stuff.
There is. And I'd like to add, if you're just finding us today, that this is Christine and Ken Bond, and they are our boots on the ground for the whole Phoenix MSA.
Right.
And maybe more. That's coming.
Yes.
And the truth is, we just opened the studio, and these guys are out here having fun with us for a couple weeks, and we decided to do this 5 episodes today for this week, the 4th of July weekend.
Exactly.
Or week. I guess it's going to air next week.
Yeah. For the 8th of July week. For the 8th of July week. Yay.
Before we get into it, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the online houseacademy.com community. Is free.
Andrew asks, what cities are best to flip houses?
So this is a good question. There's so much data. We do data-driven, data-centric acquisitions. And there's a lot of large companies, not a lot, there's about 5 really large companies out there, for whatever reason, believe that there's about 8 or 10 MSAs that are great to do this in. And it's all based on statistics and how fast properties are moving and how little they need to do to them, if anything, to resell them. And I personally think that's possible and plausible. But the best deals I've ever seen, both in land and in houses, are when somebody goes off into some crazy market that they know really well and purchase and sell property there because they know it well, or their partners know it well. So what's the best places to do this? If you want to do it by purely by the book, by price per square foot, Phoenix, Dallas, I think Charlotte's up there now, Seattle. It's really easy to
Vegas.
do. Yeah, Vegas for sure. And some of the communities in Los Angeles. But I'll tell you, the real money is in smaller MSAs that fit the same criteria that you know more about.
You just have to know what you're looking for, right? It's just like that's the whole thing with House Academy. That's what we do, and what we share is how to go into a large area and line up all the zip codes or however you want to get into it, even subdivisions, pit them against each other, and stuff will rise to the top, and you'll know. So it really does work almost everywhere.
The fundamentals are the same. If you have a property that's priced when you go to sell it, priced 20% below what it's actually worth retail, you're going to sell it fast. I don't care if it's in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan or in downtown Scottsdale.
It's funny. Just yesterday had a woman reach out to me online. I was asking, because we fund deals for people, of all kinds all over the country. She's like, would you be interested in this like apartment complex, right? So and she went into detail about the type of units, and I'm like, hold on, stop right here.
Good.
I don't care about that. All I care about is what are the numbers, and she's like, it's not your normal thing. And so I said, I normally do apartments? No. But I said, if you can find a deal that's underpriced by this much, you've kind of got a guy in your back pocket who you have a buyer lined up, and all you need is money to close a deal. We can get in and out real fast. That's what we're looking for. So it applies for all property types, not just houses, and lots of locations.
I have a lot to say about this.
Okay.
These one-off deals that people do this. I got a golf course deal in 2 months ago.
That's true.
They almost never work. When you send out blind offer campaigns and you have an acquisition machine and a pipeline, and you're very used to looking at deals that you've generated yourself, you got there first. Sure. It's a great way to do properties, but these opportunistic deals come up all the time because of this show.
Sure.
And I don't remember ever buying one.
No, you're right. And to add on that, you're right, because I was pretty much shutting her down.
Yeah, I
'Cause it's
know.
like-
I can tell. I know you
like-
are. Because we talk about this all the time.
Exactly. Because the point is, however you found it was probably wrong. You're doing it probably wrong. Here's what I look for to kind of help you. Please don't come to me with these.
So, I mean, was it a big building, or what was so special to her about this building?
She didn't have any money. For some reason, she saw something in this because it's unique. Maybe it's near her. She wants to get into apartments. She just it's
she
her
wants to get
thing.
into apartments.
She wants to get into apartments. And when I said I need A, B, C, D, and E, it's probably like, well, okay, Nick, you gel, never mind. Which is what I was going for. I didn't want to like shut her down, but I know she's not doing it right. And I was trying to help her and educate her the right way.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you.
Today's topic: what do boots on the ground do for sellers? Or in Jill's case, Jill says, what do
They don't do.
This is why you're listening.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jill.
So, well, I guess we can, if we go back to yesterday's call, we had mentioned that, to back up for a second, the boots on the ground, we are indeed the eyes and the ears for our investors there locally within that given area that you're in. And so that initial engagement that happens with the sellers literally comes from us. So understanding, again, the need of where the sellers are coming from, and then also at the same time being able to know, okay, this, the areas that they're going to need a little bit extra more help on or not, again, gauging the support for the sellers is something that we absolutely do. So just a recap from yesterday's call. But to get down to the actual tactics of what exactly happens and how we support sellers. So not, as I was mentioning yesterday, there's not one size fits all. So we take on the call, and there's a seller who has interest in selling their property. And so that starts the initial, okay, let's understand the engagements required. We run through the process with them. We've had lots
Let me
of
take
different...
2 steps back.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Jill and I, from our central office, send out thousands and thousands and thousands of blind offers that are all priced real specifically. There's a lot of science that goes into it. Mm-hmm. And because we have a great relationship with them, that generates, once the sellers open those offers, they either call the number on there or they email. And in both cases, it goes, because we have a great relationship with these guys, it goes to them directly. So that gets the ball started. So
Yeah,
from that point.
I was to say, are all the callers happy and ready to sell?
No.
We wish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have some good stories there
yeah.
about what have people told you?
Right. So we're always excited to get a call.
Right.
Okay? That's always excited. So you answer the call and you're really cheerful. And then you have someone that says, get my name off your list.
Right.
Don't ever send me the letter. You have the ones that, hey, I'm interested in selling my house, but it might be 5 years out. And then you have the ones that I'm in a time crunch, and oh, by the way, I need to get out within 60 days. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely,
Love those.
yes, exactly, a variety. I'm sure you've heard those calls come in too.
Yeah.
What are the different types of calls that are coming in?
Yeah, like you really
sellers?
shouldn't call my wife that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the name of the game is just, be cheerful and accommodating, and, we'll take you out for lifts if it's that caller. If it's hopefully it's the other call that we like, which is, hey, I've got your purchase agreement and I'm interested, and we set it up from there as, hey, when can we come see the house?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that kicks off. It's that's
Perfect.
like, okay, that's our start button. So
and how fast do you do that? Because that's what I tell people too. It's like, we all know time kills deals, especially in these situations.
Yeah.
So
yes.
yeah, like how are you guys, like when the call comes in and you're like already looking at your calendar thinking, I got to be ready to hit these guys tomorrow, because we need a signed purchase agreement and get some photos and
Right. Yeah. So for the callers that are absolutely interested in selling, they're excited. They want to. The first thing they ask us is, "I got your letter. Your offer seems acceptable, but I don't. Is this really real?" That's typically what they ask us. Is this really a real offer? Cool. And so we absolutely. What's great is that there's a huge presence through Land Academy and House Academy, and that definitely. Off the cuff, it just absolutely builds their trust.
Yeah, bolsters their confidence.
Right, and their confidence.
Online presence.
That's cool. That's good.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a brief moment there. You're having to explain, okay, who we are, and then their next question is, okay, what's the next steps?
Right.
So then you have about, I would say there's a good probably they're typically 7 to 10 minutes of where you're going through the initial who we are, and then at a very high level, here's our next steps.
Perfect.
So I think as far as if we want to just dive into the next steps.
This is great.
So we explained to them, okay, the next steps is we've sent you that offer, but we need to now let's schedule a house visit. Mm-hmm. And so there's times where scheduling a house visit, they actually may have a tenant at the property. Mm-hmm. So there's some coordination there as an FYI. You got to coordinate with the owner of the property and their tenants and be able to come and visit the house. In other cases, most of the cases, what we found is that a lot of the houses are vacant. So that is, which those are great. Yes, because it's a lot more, a lot easier to manage.
I want to pause and say, like, this is one of the things that people think that you can only find these driving for dollars. No, you don't. This is a good example. We're not driving for dollars. We're uncovering great assets that are empty, ready to go. It's just with our direct mail, it's so much easier.
Yes, yes, exactly. So that's like we explain the process that starts with we need to schedule a house visit. And then at the same time, if there's an opportunity where we can also start to pre-plan for a home inspection, but we do that within. So we're on the call 7 to 10 minutes, and then shortly thereafter, we're starting to ping our home inspector to come and start to schedule.
Check his schedule.
Yeah.
And
I
think one other critical thing is when we go and we visit with them, if this is definitely something that we think is viable, is we want to get a signed purchase agreement.
Yep.
Correct. Yes.
Perfect.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because the first thing, I've had this job that you guys have, and I've failed at it dismally, by the way. So thank you. But one of the first things I always ask is, does that purchase price work for you? Because every single, and if the answer is no, then we can just stop. Mm-hmm. Or we'll bring Jill in maybe, and there may be a little bit of room in there based on the asset value and the current conditions. But I think it's imperative to say, let's not waste any time. And get it signed.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I would say also there one of the questions that come up is, and because we do seek to get the purchase agreement signed at that first visit, one of the questions comes up is, hey, after your house visit and you got, take a look at the property, what if you guys are wanting to offer something less? And now I've just signed a purchase agreement. I can't get out of that purchase agreement. So within the purchase agreement, we definitely put some notes as far as, these are the, I don't know if you want to call them contingencies. I mean, we state here are some things that we are looking to confirm and validate on our end, i.e. is there back taxes, because you may not know at that given time you sent the letter. Right. Another thing is, the state of the overall the property in itself. So are you going...
Was there a fire last week?
Yes. That just happened. Right. So there's some things that's stated in the purchase agreement that we state up front that pending XYZ checks off, then we're good. We're good with that offer. But then if there's problems, then we'll go back to the number and talk through it with them.
I think there's no surprise. Are they ever surprised by this conversation? Are they like, oh, I get it. I would feel the same way.
No, typically it depends. So if there's another investor calling and saying, hey, they know the process in and out. We've had times where it was realtors who they're wanting to sell their property, and they know the process inside and out. Yeah. There's others that it's a couple who are early 80s, and the last time they've dealt with a sale of their property was 25, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So they're totally new. So there's, and again, going back to, I keep, my motto of there's not one size fits all. There really isn't. And just understand, gauging that during that initial call of like what the seller and what's required from them.
That's great.
I think most sellers all sellers have some trigger point, and it's always different. Like it could range from, if you guys I could use some help cleaning out my basement to I have to get cash out of this thing in 2 weeks, or there's a lot of different things that trigger whatever. I think we had one recently where we had to get the back taxes paid because it was going to go into a state of judicial judicial foreclosure with the county. So
we were hustling.
It was a time sensitive thing. We worked. So everybody's got. That's what makes this program so unique. This BOG program, because we are capable, small enough and agile enough to address these seller custom seller requirements.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess we can move to, like, once we get a signed seller agreement, right?
Right.
From that point on, we're scheduling our home inspection, which, you know, we could probably do a show just on finding the right home
Give us a
inspector.
good,
Yeah.
give us a few good minutes on this, because I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody listening would love to know, because they think don't we just like, you just go on Yelp and pick a guy, call him,
Oh, yeah,
and
no.
it's cheap and easy,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, lucky for us, I mean, we went through a few and we found a fantastic one that seems to, at this point, he almost caters to us. And
Yes,
to some degree.
he
He
does.
gets out there right away, he gets a schedule, and his reports are so thorough, almost too thorough, right? But we appreciate it, but
Right.
I think he's kind of learned our style, we've learned his and so
Yeah.
forth. But
Yeah, I would also add, like, in finding a good inspector, one of the values that I saw with the one we have right now is that his prices are fixed.
yeah,
If your property is, 1,000 to 2,500 square feet, this is my price. If you have a pool, having that
That's good.
cost up front,
Yeah.
there was like no guessing. We had inspectors that the costs were ranging $200 to $500 to $600 more than our inspector now. And those costs would change, it seemed like, on the fly. So that was, again, looking for an inspector. Yeah, I would look for one that, again, that was, has a set
Consistent.
cost. Yeah, consistency.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the quality reviews, obviously, looking
and
at
what
the reviews.
is the average, on average, it's about, what was he, I think he's 300?
Yeah, about 380, I'd say 380 to 420. That seems to be the average cost.
And
that
that's
we're
the
paying.
full inspection with termite.
Yes, with
Yeah.
termite.
Okay.
If there's a pool, I think they usually add about $50, $60 more for a pool
Right.
because they're inspecting the equipment. And then the time he's there, it's I would say on average for like a 2,500 square foot home, it's about 4 hours.
Okay.
That's great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
You get a
so
really good
4
report
hours.
this.
And he usually does it
Yeah.
this,
He's
like that
great
night,
report.
doesn't he?
Yeah,
I'm like,
he
we
does.
get it seems like we get him
Yeah.
fast. So
Yeah.
Yes.
you guys have found such a good guy that I've seen when the bill comes through, we're like, pay it fast, pay it fast.
Right,
Because we
yeah.
want to keep him happy.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he's
So-
great. He'll go through super thorough, go through everything, and then at the end he pulls us in and he takes us to every critical
Right.
point that he feels is an area of concern.
Yes.
He's great.
Yep.
Really,
Yeah.
really good.
So now we're at, okay, so we've gotten the
Post,
purchase
yeah.
agreement. We've scheduled the inspection. We've now completed the inspection.
Yeah.
And so
You guys
yes.
take pictures. I got to
That's
say,
right.
what
Oh,
I
yes.
love too, one of the
Yeah.
things that we do is that when you guys first walk in there, you're walking around, even on your cell phone, just taking pictures and uploading them for us. So we
Yes.
can just kind of
Yeah.
get eyes on it, because we do not, nor will we ever, for us back here, see the property.
This is all building up. What they're doing is building a case for whether or not we're going to buy the property.
Right.
We still don't know if we're going to buy the property yet.
Right. Yeah. One thing I would note as far as the pictures, always ask if you can take pictures.
I
Because,
didn't know
again,
that. Oh, give me a
yes.
story. Why?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
Well,
This is
again,
good.
the vacant houses, it's great. It's not a
nobody
problem.
cares.
But then there's homes that you walk in and it's absolutely being lived in.
Yeah.
And so you're going into rooms and there's things on the ground that you're not sure should be in the picture. So
we know what you guys did last night.
yeah, and so so when you go
Like
in,
what? Give it like lingerie.
yes,
Oh.
so that's laying on the ground.
Wow.
There's and again, you have to know your sellers. There's some that if they have dishes in the sink,
Oh.
they don't want you to take pictures. They
Yeah.
want to
That's
clean up the
funny.
dishes in the sink. So
I didn't know that.
yes, so that's always ask.
That's good advice.
That if you can take pictures, and I would say all of them have allowed us to take
Yeah.
pictures in the property.
That's so good. Just like maybe not that view, maybe this view.
Right, right. So yes, okay. So
Good.
now, as Steve said, at this point, we still haven't decided. This is the house we're going to purchase. So we've completed the inspection. We've got the report, and at that point, the four of us are looking at
The review.
the
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
Here are the
Look at the
key
numbers.
right. Here are the key things that we see are probably the most problematic when it comes to the other side, which is going to be the resale of that property. And then we just start to go through that and prioritize if there's something that's urgent. One thing I would say is key learning that we've had so far with regards to the experience of home inspections is, I would say, the investment in, for example, replacing carpet. I think initially we go in and we're like, well, we'll get the carpet clean. It's probably going to be suffice enough. And then you guys would come in, well, if we just if we just get the carpet replaced entirely for $800 or whatever, I mean, that's probably a better bet for the resale side of it.
Exactly.
So
And
I
some
mean,
of them
it's
we're
just-
not going to do any of that at all because
Yeah.
it's in that condition that we know there's going to be
Right.
a flip, another investor
Yeah.
who's going to
Exactly.
buy it.
Yeah.
So,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say one other thing because we have seen this, right? Is things like HOA transfer fees.
oh gosh.
Yes.
There's some things
Little
that
things
may
you
not
gotta-
show
you're
until
right.
kind of we get to the end, and
And now we've all learned that we ask that.
Yeah.
And we
Right.
check that.
Yes. So a checklist of
Yep.
things to do and questions to get answered up front, I say has been beneficial. And we continue to build on that checklist
Absolutely.
as we
Totally.
learn.
yeah.
So,
Solar panels.
I mean, at this point,
Right.
at this point in the deal, what really happens in reality is I call Ken and I say, should we do this deal or not?
Right.
Everything
right.
you've seen.
Right.
And a lot of times before, I can give you a couple examples before it even gets to that point. He calls me and says, look, man, we should stop right here. This is a mess. There's a Army Jeep. There's one case, there's like military vehicles back here. It's a pretty good indication that we don't even need to go into this thing. I know it's priced right. I know it's on a huge lot. It was in Mesa, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you just talked me out of that immediately because of the neighborhood, not so much to even ask the
Right.
asset.
And that's the thing. I mean, that's the whole key of this whole thing is boots on ground. Is you can get there physically, see it, and you know when you're
Feel
there,
it.
and you feel it, yeah, and you know.
Right.
So
Right.
it's the whole
I don't
premise
even know
of
if
this.
you guys know that we do this, but he's like, yeah, we should actually do this deal, or no, we should.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we disagree,
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes there's other stuff that goes on. So I think there's sometimes
Yeah.
they see stuff, then Jill talks me into doing the deal.
Yeah.
You know, we
Right.
haven't done a bad deal yet.
No,
I think
we
we're actually
haven't.
overly conservative.
Yeah. I think
We've done a bunch of deals together, and I think that looking back on it, because now I really realize what you guys are capable of. There's a few deals that we turned down that probably could have turned okay.
It's true.
It's
But
solar
that's
panel
okay.
house. Yeah, it's
Right.
I'm like, we erred on the side
Yeah.
of caution, and
Yes.
now we're like,
Exactly.
woohoo.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
we got the inspection. Jill and I say, hell yes, let's do it. You
Okay.
guys agree?
Right.
We go to escrow, right?
Right.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So again, meanwhile, while we're having this conversation, negotiating, okay, we're going to do this or not. We have the sellers are pinging both of us. What's the status of? Do you guys have a
Yeah.
status? So the constant communication is what you'll find. Majority of the sellers are going to be looking to you to provide to them because they're planning on their end. They're trying to figure out how,
Yeah.
especially the ones that are living there, how are they going to, the timing when they need to move, if they need extra help to come in, family members. So they're starting to plan on their end.
And there's even silly situations. I'm not silly, but people that there's a trust setup. Remember, we had
Yeah.
one that was a trust setup where they got to get signatures from other parties
Yeah.
of the family or
Yeah.
people that are in the trust and so forth. So there's coordination on the seller side for
Right.
sure.
Right. Yeah. So we're constantly keeping them
the loop.
informed. In the loop of what's going on.
We explained about then escrow too, your role, a little
Yes.
bit, like what you do there
Yes. Yeah. So that's
Okay.
another thing is
to help the seller.
Right.
Yeah.
So establishing, if I back up for a second, establishing relationships with within your local market, specifically your inspectors, specifically repair people that are there to help you with the house, and then escrow. So we have been fortunate. We've definitely had our experience
Yeah, that's another.
of good experiences and bad experiences, but we've seemed to have found a really good escrow company now to help us with that process. So at that point we've now said, okay, we've explained to the seller we're going into escrow. A lot of times they don't know what that means, so there's an element of educating them on what that process is going to be about. And informing them that the escrow officer is now going to be contacting you, requesting information from you, and they have a direct interaction and engagement with the seller.
Do they call you all the time? I imagine like now that I know you, I'm like the sweet little 80-year-old couple that haven't sold a house in 30 years.
Yes.
I would be calling you after every she told me to send my taxes or my whatever. Do I do that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And not only when they're calling me, it's, hi, Christine, this is so-and-so. I'm going to put you on speakerphone.
Oh, that's so cute.
So my husband can hear, or it could be the opposite. Hi,
That's
Christine,
so
this is so-and-so. I'm going to
cute.
put you on speakerphone so my wife can hear.
You really are holding their hand through the
Yes.
whole thing.
Yes.
It's so valuable.
And I can tell you with that couple, that particular transaction was definitely one that required, and not to be negative about, it required the most hand holding.
Yeah.
And there's an element of, I got to know them on a personal level as well. And so just gauging when you have to cross that line, and now you're talking about their family versus some other folks where they are not going to have that conversation with you. But that particular one, yes, there was a lot of.
Wasn't that where you were for Christmas last year? Just kidding. You got invited to the Christmas dinner, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, so they, I got to know, and so so I'd been working with them for so, because they were the ones that lived out of state. And so finally they're in Arizona, we're starting to talk with them, and it was the day that I was going to go meet them. And when I met them, it was that classic situation where you envision, what they actually are going to look like. And then you get there, like, oh my goodness. I think the husband could barely walk, and so the wife was helping him, and so but it was good. I got to again meet them on a more personal note, and that it worked out for them.
That's what this is about. I really think at the end of the day, that what we bring
personal service, personal connection,
and making it easy for them.
Yes,
I tell my whole staff that that's my goal in all of our transactions and in life. Is to make this easy.
Right. Right. Yes. And I would say, and they get to the point where they absolutely fully trust you. So as you say, an escrow officer is going to be contacting you. They're trusting that you have found a good officer to work with them. And they're trusting that the person they're going to work with, they can also trust it as well.
Yes.
So that building the trust and the communication, I say it's probably been the most key to our success.
Pretty crucial. Yeah.
That's good. So how does it end? So it goes through escrow, and then on the, on closing day, do you have any funny stories or anything about?
Right. Yeah.
I think it's a classic. We think we're going to close here, and there's one last thing, or this or that, or whatever. There's always that anticipation, right? Are we going to really close when the escrow agent says we're going to close? But other than that, I don't think
on the acquisition side, every deal we've done with you guys went really well.
Pretty good, yeah.
It's closed when it should.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the economics of these deals. These deals at the end, and we're going to talk about what the BOG is, how they're involved with the actual the buyers tomorrow. But the economics is we net between, let's say, $40,000 and $100,000 on these deals, and we split it. We take 33%, between 33 and 40%. They take between 33 and 20%. And the financial partner, we've got tons of financial backers that come in that just write the checks. So we don't put any money into these deals. They don't put any money in. They just put sweat equity in. They're a partner in the deal. We're a partner in the deal because we put the whole thing together. We've got money people. So everybody really wins financially. And I'd like to think the seller wins. Like, do you put that in your head when you're like, look, I mean, do they see it that way, or do they see it like you guys are taking me for a ride?
I don't know. I think most of them. I think initially there's the trust isn't there, right? Because I mean, let's face it. There's a lot of letters that come in, right? And so I think once we get past that, and I think really the critical thing, Christine mentioned it, is once that escrow officer starts making that call and starts gathering the information from them, then you can see they start to, okay, this is really going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think they love the whole, man, this is going to happen. This is an easy button for me.
Yep.
At least that's been I think for the most part, been our experience.
Yep.
Right.
They want to be done with it. Like you mentioned, there's a trigger somewhere, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And they're ready to go.
Right. Yeah.
Perfect.
So I would say one other thing I was going to add in the spirit of the closing. All my little tips and tricks here. So now we're at the actual day we're closing. We're physically getting the keys, and there's times where they physically want to hand you over the keys. In that situation I mentioned.
Can you meet me at Denny's?
Yes,
at
they
2
physically.
o'clock?
Yeah, and then we have the ones that are just I left it underneath the rock next to the door, and so those are easy.
Cute.
But I'd say for us, when I think of the goal of the Boots and Grounds, is that even down to at that very last day, we continue to ensure there's a good experience. That they've had a good experience through the whole process. Granted, it's not going to be the case all the time, but that we strive to provide a good experience for them. So let it be, the extra communication we provided, or anything extra we provided for them. We strive for a good experience.
That's good.
Thanks. Well said.
Yeah.
So now we own it. We as partners, all 4 of us, own a house that we paid probably a couple $100,000 for. That's probably worth $300-ish. Some number like that, or 250 or 260 or 270. And none of us have put any money in. And I think that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Tomorrow we talk about getting rid of the damn thing. Join us in the next episode called What the Boots on the Ground Do for the Buyers.
And we answer your questions posted on our online community found at houseacademy.com. It is free.
You are not alone. in your real estate ambition. So I think you probably have some announcements still. Or?
I do. Happening like in I don't know, like an hour from now, by the time this is hitting, if you go to landacademy.com, check it out. Jack, aka Steven, and I will be doing a live Facebook informative thing talking about Land Academy and House Academy and everything in between.
You're gonna give something away like you usually do?
I don't know. We hadn't talked about this. It's kind of more of a business one. So thanks. Now maybe I have to. So, and we're going to talk about, actually, it's going to be really seriously, it's about discussing how to get started flipping land and houses. And we're going to be covering Parcel Fact 2.0 and doing due diligence.
Good. Okay.
So
it's all business.
It really is a business thing. I'm not just, not just, you're so good. Wherever you're watching or wherever you are listening, please subscribe and rate us there. We are Steve and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.